Dear students, we are studying the chapter 18th century political formations, and this is the fourth part of this chapter. In this part, we'll study the topic seizing independence, in which we'll discuss about the three regional powers, the Sikhs, Marathas, and Jats. The first topic is the Sikhs. Let's discuss about the Sikhs. The organization of the Sikhs into a political community during the 17th century, as we have discussed in chapter 8, helped in a regional state building in Punjab. Several battles were fought by Guru Gobind Singh against the Rajput and Mughal rulers, both before and after the institution of the Khalsa in 1699. Khalsa was the organization that was established in 1699 by Guru Gobind Singh. After his death in 1708, the Khalsa rose in revolt against the Mughal authority under Banda Bahadur's leadership. So Banda Bahadur became the leader. He was the heir of Guru Gobind Singh. He declared himself and sovereign rule by striking coins in the name of Guru Nanak and Guru Gobind Singh, and established their own administration between the settlers and Jamuna river. Between these two rivers and this area was under his administration. Banda Bahadur was captured in 1715 and executed in 1716 by Mughal Empire. You can see this is the image here. Guru Gobind Singh, he was the 10th Guru, as we have discussed. This is the image of Guru Gobind Singh. Under a number of able leaders in the 18th century, the Sikhs organized themselves into a number of bands. These bands were called Jathas, and later on missals. So these Jathas were converted into missals. Total there were 12 missals. Their combined forces were known as the Grand Army, that was also known as Dal Khalsa. The entire body used to meet at Amritsar at the time of Baisakhi. Baisakhi, it was the fair also was conducted on this occasion, Baisakhi and Diwali both, to take collective decisions known as resolutions of the Guru, means Gurmatas. Gurmatas. A system called Rakhi was introduced, offering protection to cultivators on the payment of a tax of 20% of the produce. So this tax was deposited by the farmers and the peasants, or those who used to cultivate the land, and in place of that the Sikhs used to protect them. It means the Gurus were protecting them. Guru Gobind Singh had inspired the Khalsa with the belief that their destiny was to rule. Raj Karega Khalsa. This was the destiny. It was the destiny to rule. Their well-knit organization enabled them to put up a successful resistance to the Mughal governors first, and then to Ahmad Shah Abdali, who had seized the rich province of Punjab and the Sarkar of Sirhind from the Mughals. The Khalsa declared their sovereign rule by striking their own coin again in 1765, again after the time of Banda Bahadur. Significantly, this coin bore the same inscription as the one on the order issued by the Khalsa in the time of Banda Bahadur, as we have discussed. The Sikh territories in the late 18th century extended from the Indus to the Jamuna, but they were divided under different rulers. One of them, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, reunited these groups and established his capital at Lahore in 1799. So in this way, Maharaja Ranjit Singh was one of the most powerful Sikh rulers in this region. Next, about Marathas. We'll discuss about Marathas. The Maratha kingdom was another powerful regional kingdom to arise out of a sustained opposition to Mughal rule. So Marathas also were against the Mughals or the opponents of Mughals. Shivaji established the Maratha kingdom. Shivaji, 1627 to 1680, carved out a stable kingdom with the support of powerful warrior families, Deshmukhs. This was the warrior family. Example, Deshmukhs. Groups of highly mobile peasant pastoralists, means Kunbis, also known as Kunbis, provided the backbone of Maratha army. Shivaji used these forces to challenge the Mughals in the peninsula. In this region, Shivaji used the forces and opposed the Mughals and fought some battles. After Shivaji's death, effective power in the Maratha state was wielded by a family of Chitpavan Brahmanas. Chitpavan Brahmanas who served Shivaji's successors as Peshwa. Peshwa, also known as Principal Minister. Pune became the capital of Maratha kingdom at that time. Under the Peshwas, the Marathas developed a very successful military organization. Their success lay in bypassing the fortified areas of the Mughals by raiding cities and by engaging Mughal armies in areas where their supply lines and reinforcements could be easily disturbed. Between 1720 and 1761, the Maratha Empire expanded. It gradually chipped away at the authority of the Mughal Empire. Malwa and Gujarat were seized from the Mughals by the 1720s. By the 1730s, the Maratha kingdom, means Maratha king, was recognized as the overlord of the entire Deccan Peninsula. He possessed the right to levy chauth. He levied chauth and sardeshmukhi in the entire region. These were the taxes, chauth and sardeshmukhi. Chauth was 1/4 of the total production, 1/4, and sardeshmukhi was 1/10 of the total production. After raiding Delhi in 1737, the frontiers of Maratha domination expanded rapidly. Rajasthan and the Punjab in the north. These were in the northern region. Into Bengal and Odisha in the east. You have to remember. And into Karnataka and the Tamil and Telugu countries in the south. These were not formally included in the Maratha Empire but were made to pay tribute as way of accepting Maratha sovereignty. So they accepted Maratha sovereignty although they were independent, were not the part of Maratha Empire. Expansion brought enormous resources, but it came at price. These military campaigns also made other rulers hostile towards the Marathas. As a result, they were not inclined to support the Marathas during the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761 against Ahmad Shah Abdali. Means Ahmad Shah Abdali and Marathas fought this battle, Third Battle of Panipat, in which Marathas were defeated very, very badly, right? Alongside endless military campaigns, the Marathas developed an effective administrative system as well. Once conquest had been completed and Maratha rule was secure, revenue demands were gradually introduced, taking local conditions into account. Agriculture was encouraged and trade revived. So this was a special feature of that particular time. This allowed Maratha chiefs, means Sardars, Maratha Sardars like Sindhia. Sindhia was the Sardar of Gwalior, Gaikwad, Baroda, and Bhonsle in Nagpur. the resources to raise powerful armies. Maratha campaigns into Malwa in the 1720s did not challenge the growth and prosperity of the cities in the region. Ujjain expanded under Scindia's patronage and Indore under Holkar's. By all accounts, these cities were large and prosperous and functioned as important commercial and cultural centers. New trade routes emerged within the areas controlled by the Marathas. So these routes became very important for trade. The silk produced in the Chanderi region now found a new outlet in Pune, the Maratha capital. So Pune became the Maratha capital. Burhanpur, which had earlier participated in the trade between Agra and Surat, now expanded its hinterland to include Pune and Nagpur also in the south, and Lucknow and Allahabad in the east. So these cities also were connected to these trade routes. The next topic is the Jats. Like the other states, the Jats consolidated their power during the late 17th and 18th centuries. Under their leader, Churaman. Churaman was the important leader of Jats. They acquired control over territories situated to the west of the city of Delhi. And by the 1680s, they had begun dominating the region between the two imperial cities of Delhi and Agra. For a while, they became the virtual custodians of the city of Agra. Jats became the custodian of the city. The Jats were prosperous agriculturists. They had big parts of lands. Towns like Panipat, Vallabhgarh became important trading centers in the areas dominated by them. So these were two important trade centers. Under Surajmal, the kingdom of Bharatpur emerged as a strong state. Surajmal was the ruler of Bharatpur. When Nadir Shah sacked Delhi in 1739, many of the city's notables took refuge there. His son Jawahir Shah had 30,000 troops of his own and hired another 20,000 Maratha and 15,000 Sikh troops to fight the Mughals. So against the Mughals, they used Marathas and Sikhs. While the Bharatpur fort was built in a fairly traditional style, at Dig and Jats built an elaborate garden palace combining styles seen at Amber and Agra. Its buildings were modeled on architectural forms first associated with royalty under Shah Jahan. This is figure 8, 18th century palace complex at Dig. Note the Bangla Dome on the assembly hall on the roof of the building. You can see here. This is Bangla Dome on the assembly hall. So this is the assembly hall, this one. And here you can see these domes. 18th century political formations. This was the chapter we have discussed, dear students. Revise the chapter, read from the textbook. Thank you. Have a nice day.